Hey man, here's something most guys don't realize until it's too late. Women test men constantly, not in obvious ways, but in subtle, calculated moves that feel like love on the surface, but underneath, they're probes. Probes for weakness, for dominance, for leverage. These aren't tests for fun, they're tests for control. You think she's just moody, just in a phase, but what's really happening? She's watching how you react. She's gathering data. She's trying to see how much of yourself you're willing to surrender without even noticing. And the more you give, the more control she takes. The scariest part? Most of these tests come wrapped in emotion. She'll cry, act hurt, get distant, go silent. You'll think you've done something wrong. You'll try to fix it. You'll get softer, more accommodating, more emotionally available. And to her, that's not comfort. That's a signal that she can move the needle of your behavior with a tear, that she owns your emotional thermostat. And the second she knows that, you failed the first test, and you didn't even know it was happening. Test number 1 is the classic, the silence trap. She suddenly stops replying. No explanation, no closure, just distance. You panic, you double text, you apologize for things you didn't even do. You beg for her to talk, and boom, she knows. She knows she can control your mind with absence, that she can weaponize space, and next time, she'll use it again, but worse, because now she's not just testing your patience, she's exploiting your need for validation. Real men don't chase silence, they match energy, they observe, they hold frame, but the weak ones, they fold. And once you fold once, she'll never see you the same again. Test 2 is the jealousy seed. She brings up another guy, an old friend, a co-worker, an ex, and she watches your face, your tone, your posture. It's not because she misses the guy, it's because she wants to see if you'll break your composure. Will you get insecure? Will you start competing? Will you start begging for her attention? If you do, she wins. Because the moment a man feels threatened by shadows, he hands over his confidence like a sacrifice, and she'll take it. She won't say it, but in her mind, the man who panics at mention of another man isn't the king. He's a court jester. Test 3 is the overreaction bait. She'll push a boundary, insult you, make a disrespectful joke in public, bring up a private matter in front of friends, and then wait. If you laugh it off, she thinks you're weak. If you explode, she thinks you're unstable. But if you address it calmly, directly, with firm energy, she feels it. She might get mad in the moment, but that night, she's replaying it. Because you passed. You showed emotional control with backbone, and that's rare. Most guys either suppress their anger or unleash it. Few can channel it with precision. Test 4, the help me then shame you cycle. She asks for your help, emotionally, financially, or physically. You show up, you do the work, you fix the issue, and then later, she downplays it, makes you feel like it was nothing, or worse, she uses it against you, says you're controlling or expecting something in return. What she's doing here is testing your motives, seeing if you're doing it to gain leverage or because you're solid regardless of her gratitude. But here's the secret, this test is broken. No man should give endlessly without appreciation. When she shames you for your support, she's not testing you, she's grooming you, and real men walk away from that. Test 5 is the emotional dump. She tells you everything, her trauma, her fears, her exes, her darkest thoughts, and you, thinking you're bonding, absorb it all. Try to fix it. Try to hold space. But what she's really doing, she's testing your tolerance, seeing if you can be her therapist, her emotional sponge, her personal healer. And if you accept that role too quickly, she stops seeing you as a man. You become her emotional crutch, and once she leans on you too much, she'll resent you for not being strong enough to lead. Don't fall for it. You're not her savior, you're her partner. And if she can't handle her emotions without making them your problem, that's her failure, not your responsibility. Test 6, the role reversal. She starts acting like the leader, makes decisions without you, plans your weekend, chooses what you eat, what you wear, how you talk to people. And if you don't push back, she keeps going. Not because she wants to lead, but because she wants to see if you'll stop her, if you'll reclaim your role. If you don't, she doesn't feel safe. Because despite what culture tells you, women don't want to lead men. They want to lead boys until a man shows up and reminds them what calm, grounded leadership actually feels like. Test 7 is the threat to leave. She says things like, maybe we're not meant for each other. I don't know if this is working. Maybe I should just go. And most guys, they plead, they beg, they promise to change. And that's how they fail. Because she's not really trying to leave. She's trying to see how quickly you'll abandon your spine to keep her. The right response? Calm detachment. Let her walk if she wants to. Not because you don't care, but because love is never built on emotional blackmail. A man who fears being alone is easy to manipulate, but a man who stands firm in his value, he commands respect. And test 8, the deliberate disrespect. It might be small, talking over you, rolling her eyes, ignoring your boundaries, and if you let it slide, it grows, because what you tolerate becomes your reality. She's not doing it to be cruel, she's doing it to check your strength. Women don't trust men who tolerate disrespect. They test limits the same way children do, not because they want chaos, but because they crave structure. And when you set that boundary with calm strength, she doesn't pull away, she leans in, because now she knows she's with a man. Test 9 is the comparison game. She brings up how her friend's boyfriend did something more romantic, or how her ex used to do something differently. It seems casual at first, just a comment, a story, a remember when, but it's a test. She's watching your reaction. If you get defensive, if you start explaining, if you scramble to prove your worth, she knows she's in control, because now she's got you competing against ghosts. And you'll never win that game. The right move? Unmoved, grounded. You let her talk, but you don't flinch. You know your value isn't negotiable, and it sure as hell isn't up for auction between her memories and your masculinity. Test 10, and one of the most dangerous ones, is the compliance test. She asks you to do something you're not comfortable with. Maybe it's something subtle like skipping your workout to spend more time with her, or something big like compromising on your boundaries, principles, or long-term goals. If you comply once, she tests again and again, until the man who once had vision, discipline, and drive is now a shadow of himself, nodding his head to everything just to avoid conflict. But here's the truth. Every time you trade your boundaries for her approval, you become less of a man in her eyes. Because deep down, she doesn't want a servant, she wants a rock. And rocks don't move just because the tide gets emotional. But here's the part no one tells you. These tests aren't always conscious. She's not necessarily sitting there scheming like a villain in a movie. Many of these are instinctual, built into female psychology. It's not manipulation for sport, it's survival strategy. They're looking for strength, security, and certainty. And if they have to push your buttons to find that out, they will. It's not always personal. But your failure to recognize the pattern, that's on you. That's what keeps you spinning in confusion, while she controls the tempo of the entire relationship. When you fail these tests, something dies inside her. Respect, desire, polarity. She may still love you in theory, but she can't feel you anymore. You become emotionally weightless. She doesn't listen the same. She doesn't touch you the same. And you start to wonder, what changed? You think maybe she's just overwhelmed or distant, but the truth is, she tested your strength and found air. And a woman cannot attach herself to air. She needs gravity, solidity, a man she can feel even when he's silent. And if you become a feather just to please her, you'll drift out of her world faster than you came in. Here's the cruel irony. She might complain about your strength in the moment, but it's the only thing that keeps her close long term. She'll call you cold, stoic, hard-headed. But the moment you soften too much, become too available, too agreeable, her attraction dries up. Because the masculine frame isn't meant to bend to emotion, it's meant to contain it. And if you don't hold your frame, she'll feel unsafe. Not because you yelled, but because you disappeared into her storm instead of anchoring it. She doesn't need a mirror, she needs a mountain. You've probably heard it said, if you give her the power, she'll use it. And that's true, but here's a deeper truth. It's not about dominance, it's about emotional trust. When a woman tests you, she's trying to find the walls of your fortress, the places where she can lean, rest, collapse emotionally without worrying that you'll collapse with her. If she pushes and you fall, she knows she can't trust you with her deepest chaos. But if she pushes and you hold, even if she fights it in the moment, something in her relaxes. Because now she's not steering the ship anymore, you are. The men who fail these tests over and over often turn bitter. They say women are crazy, women don't know what they want, but the truth is, they never passed the tests that would earn them respect. They were emotionally lazy, weak in frame, loud when they should have been calm, desperate when they should have been detached. And the worst part, they never even knew they were being tested. They thought they were just being nice, accommodating, doing the right thing. But in reality, they were surrendering piece after piece of their manhood, thinking it would earn love. But love earned through surrender is never real. It's pity wearing perfume. A real man doesn't fear these tests, he expects them. He doesn't view them as attacks, but as opportunities to demonstrate his grounding. He doesn't argue, explain, or overreact. He stays still, measured, present. And when she throws emotional fire, he doesn't throw water, he becomes stone. Not cold, not cruel, but immovable. And that steadiness, that's what pulls her in deeper than any sweet word or romantic gesture. Because when the world feels chaotic, she doesn't want comfort, she wants clarity. And clarity never begs. You want to know why so many women cry after losing a strong man? It's not because he was perfect. It's because they remember the exact moment they tested him and he didn't fold. And in that moment, they felt something primal, safety, depth, a presence they couldn't control and couldn't forget. So when he finally walks, they're not mourning the man, they're mourning the mirror he held up. The one that reflected their true nature, their immaturity, their impulsiveness. And the truth is, no one wants to lose the one person who truly saw them. You've got to stop failing these tests, brother. Not by becoming colder, but by becoming stronger, sharper, more rooted in who you are. Because a woman will test everything. Your patience, your confidence, your silence, your standards. And if you collapse every time, you'll never be her man. You'll be her emotional project. And she doesn't want to raise a man. She wants to respect one. And respect isn't built through words or promises. It's built in the heat of the test, in the fire, in the moment where she says, let's see what he's made of. And you respond with presence, with peace, with unshakable masculine calm. That's when you pass. There's something else you need to understand, man. Not all tests are emotional storms. Some are soft, whispered. They come in the form of little sacrifices she asks of you. Can you just skip the gym today? Can we just stay in tonight even though you said you had work? They sound harmless, loving even. But every one of those small requests, if it goes against your mission, your purpose, your structure, it's a test. A test to see what ranks higher, her comfort or your calling. And if you start saying yes too often, you'll feel it. Not immediately, but over time. You'll wake up one day and realize you're living her life, not yours. That's the cost of blind compliance. You want to know what's even more dangerous than a woman testing you? A woman who no longer bothers to. Because once she stops testing, it means she's given up on your potential. She doesn't care if you're strong or weak, because she's already made her decision. And that's when most men panic. They start trying to prove themselves again. They get needy, emotional, desperate. But it's too late, because a woman who stops testing has stopped investing. She's emotionally gone. And that's why passing the test when it shows up matters, because you don't always get a second one. Some men though, they hear this and think, so I have to be cold all the time. No brother, you don't have to be cold, you have to be centered. Cold is reactionary, it's a defense mechanism. Centered is strength. It's knowing that no matter what she throws at you, tears, silence, emotional chaos, you won't be moved from your core. That your values don't bend for affection, that your standards aren't suspended in exchange for sex, that your peace doesn't rely on her validation. That's not cruelty, that's masculine integrity, and without it, you'll always be manipulated, because you'll always need her more than she needs you. When a woman sees that she can't control you emotionally, she'll either step into her feminine or she'll walk, and both outcomes are good. Because if she can't handle a man who doesn't flinch, she wasn't ready to be with one. She was looking for a fixer, not a leader. And you weren't born to be her therapist, you were born to be the lighthouse, solid, still, unapologetically lit from within. So when she sends waves, storms, thunder, she knows where home is. And even if she sails away, she never forgets what it felt like to be near your light. But if you bend, if you break, if every test leads to you apologizing, adjusting, rearranging your soul just to keep her, She'll lose attraction fast. She may still talk about love, but her behavior will shift. She'll start withdrawing, criticizing more, flirting with others. Not because she wants to hurt you, but because you gave her too much power and she doesn't know what to do with it. You gave her control over the masculine, and a woman doesn't want to drive the relationship. She wants to be driven by a man who knows the way. Let's talk about emotional withholding, one of the most subtle tests out there. She becomes cold, distant, less affectionate, and you, thinking it's your job to restore the vibe, you overcompensate. You text more, you buy gifts, you talk longer, you lean in. But every time you reach, she pulls further back. Why? Because she's testing if your love is conditional, if your sense of value hinges on her warmth. And when you fail, when you chase, she sees it. She doesn't feel safe, because she knows this man will abandon his center just to feel me again. And once she knows that, she controls the temperature of your entire emotional world. That's why so many relationships die quietly. Not from cheating, not from huge fights, but from a man giving away his soul in increments. From failing these tests again and again, thinking he's doing the right thing. From giving too much of himself without ever demanding the respect to match. And by the time he realizes what happened, he's burned out, empty, lost. Wondering how he became a stranger in his own life, walking on eggshells, avoiding confrontation, scared to lead. That's not love. That's emotional enslavement, dressed as partnership. You ever meet a guy who used to be sharp, focused, strong, but now he's just dull? Look closer. 9 times out of 10, he's in a relationship where he's failing every test. He's become so reactive, so permission-seeking, that he doesn't even recognize himself. And the worst part? His woman doesn't respect him. She might still sleep with him, still say, "I love you." But deep down, she knows he's no longer the man she fell for. He's become a pet, trained, predictable, controlled, and once you're predictable in the wrong way, you're replaceable. The cure to all of this? Radical self-awareness. You have to start recognizing when you're being tested. Not with fear, not with paranoia, but with clarity. You feel a shift in her energy. Ask yourself, is this genuine emotion or a test of strength? You sense disrespect. Ask yourself, am I holding my boundary or avoiding discomfort? You feel the urge to prove something. Pause, breathe. Ask yourself, who am I trying to convince and why? These moments of inner questioning, they're how you reclaim your frame, because power is never lost in explosions. It's lost in moments of unconscious surrender. Brother, when you finally start passing these tests, when you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop needing her approval, you'll feel something unfamiliar at first. Stillness. That calm, masculine stillness that comes from knowing you've got nothing to prove. That she can come or go, love you or leave you, praise you or test you, but you remain you. That kind of presence, it's magnetic. It doesn't scream, it doesn't perform, but it's unforgettable. And whether she stays or walks, whether she respects it or not, you'll sleep like a king. Because you'll know you didn't bend, you didn't break, you passed the test. And that, my brother, is everything. And here's the harshest part, man. You won't always be rewarded for passing. Sometimes she'll get mad. Sometimes she'll accuse you of being cold, distant, or arrogant. Not because you did something wrong, but because your strength made her uncomfortable. You didn't fold, you didn't apologize for standing your ground, and that threatened her control. But let me tell you something, you'd rather have a woman upset at your strength than faking love for your weakness. Because women might complain about your boundaries, but deep down, they crave the man who won't move for anyone. You've got to detach from outcome. That's the only way you win. When you pass these tests, you can't be doing it for her approval. You can't be playing a role just to earn points. That's not masculine, that's manipulation in disguise. You hold your frame because that's who you are, because your peace is your priority, because your mission doesn't get paused for romance. And when she sees that, when she feels that energy, that's when she either levels up or exits. But you never chase, because the second you start performing for her love, she starts writing your script, and you become just another character in her emotional drama. Look around today. Most men are sleepwalking through their relationships, smiling when they're dying inside, nodding yes when their soul is screaming no, saying I understand just to keep the peace, even when they're being disrespected to their core. And they think that's what love is, being flexible, being nice, being the bigger person. But all they're doing is training her to control them, to test harder, push further. And one day, she loses all respect, and he's left broken, wondering how it got this far. The answer? He never learned to say no. He never learned to stand tall when everything told him to bow. You want to know what's more seductive than flowers or money or sweet words? A man who cannot be emotionally manipulated. That presence, that calm, silent confidence, it drives women crazy. Not because they want to break it, but because they want to be led by it. It makes them feel safe, held, anchored. But the moment you break that for her comfort, the moment you start responding to every emotional flicker like it's a command, you lose that magnetic edge. You stop being the mountain and become the breeze. And the breeze might feel nice, but it never leaves a lasting impact. The truth is, most women don't even know they're testing you. It's hardwired. They test to find your depth, to measure your core, to feel your essence. And if every test ends with you submitting, explaining, apologizing for having a spine, you're not showing love, you're showing weakness. And a woman will never respect a man she feels superior to emotionally. She may care, she may feel attached, but respect, that's reserved for the men who can hold their own when the emotional seas get wild. There's a reason the most grounded men attract the most devotion. They don't react, they don't chase, they don't flinch. And even when she's testing him hard, pushing every button, throwing tantrums, threatening to leave, he doesn't collapse. He sees it for what it is. A woman craving leadership, craving certainty, craving a man who doesn't flail under pressure. And when she sees he can handle her chaos without absorbing it, that's when she starts to soften. That's when she starts to respect him, not just love him. And brother, that respect, that's the foundation of everything. You're not here to be her puppet. You're not here to walk on eggshells and pray she doesn't explode. You're here to lead, to embody stillness, to hold space, not to be swallowed by it. And the more you align with that truth, the more these tests stop feeling like attacks. You stop taking them personally. You start seeing them as invitations to go deeper into your masculine. You stay grounded, you speak less, you observe more, and you move only when it's right, not when it's easy, not when it's emotional, but when it's aligned. The world is full of broken men trying to win women by giving away their power, and it never works. Because women weren't made to lead you, they were made to respond to the man who leads himself. That doesn't mean being controlling, it means being centered, rooted, principled. And when you hold that space, when you stop failing these quiet emotional tests, you start creating a relationship built on polarity, not performance, on truth, not tactics. And that, brother, is the rarest thing in this world. So here's what you do from now on. When you feel a shift in energy, don't panic, breathe, don't explain, observe. When she challenges you, don't fight to prove your worth. Stand tall in it. When she tries to bait a reaction, stay still. When she pulls back, don't chase. When she disrespects, correct it calmly or walk away. You're not here to pass every test perfectly. You're here to pass them honestly, authentically, without losing yourself in the process. That's the mark of a man. Not how much he can take, but how unshaken he remains when everything's trying to make him forget who he is. And in the end, the women who matter, the ones worth keeping, they don't want to control you. They want to feel you, trust you, surrender to you. But they'll never do that if you don't first prove that you can hold the weight of who they are without dropping the weight of who you are. These tests, they're not traps, they're mirrors. They reflect your inner strength or lack of it. And if you pass, not with arrogance but with presence, then you don't just get her love, you get her respect, her submission, her loyalty, and most of all, you keep your soul intact. That's the win. That's the reward. And that's the kind of man no woman ever forgets.